Rachel Baylor, we're live.
Hi, Shawn. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
Doing well. I'm doing very well.
Nice, nice. Thanks for joining us today on Lending with Purpose. We're glad to have you. And Rachel, these are conversations that we have with clients and friends, introductions to various forms of information and professionals like yourself, resources like you have that we use, that we look for, that we never knew existed or wanted to learn more about. So
hmm
thanks again. Thanks again. So before we got started, I asked you, I said, "Are you a homeowner?" And you were like, "No, not yet, but it's in the goals."
Yes, it
And so,
is.
and so we were supposed to do this. It's I don't believe in coincidences why you said this, because you remember we were supposed to do this same live stream, I don't know, maybe about a month ago.
hmm
And we weren't able to connect to make that happen. And I'm grateful and appreciative that we were able to do so today. But I did a last minute audible, and I talked about goal setting during that time
Mm.
slot that we were supposed to be doing it. And the goal setting was around home ownership.
Mm.
Yeah, so tell me what that looks like for you. Like you said it's in the goals. Like, are you talking soon, like later? Like, have you thought about what that looks like to achieve home ownership?
Yes, I have actually. It's interesting because, to be honest with you, I met with a mortgage company about 3 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, thinking about buying a home. And so as I went through the journey of like learning more about my finances, learning about what needed to be in place, learning about what programs were out there, I was like, okay, let me take a step back. Maybe I'm not ready yet. And so I think that was something I had to realize, like there's a lot of research that goes into home owning, home buyership so that you can feel confident with the decision that you're making, right? And so then when the pandemic hit, that really shifted things for me personally, just looking at the market and things like that. Just really wanted to make a very wise financial decision. So where am I in terms of that right now? I am currently looking at different areas in which I want to own a home and looking at the future projected costs of what that home may be. If our economy is going to be in a different standpoint, is it wise for me to at this point? So kind of just exploring territories. I was up in the DMV area for about 10 years, and that's where I was originally exploring 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Since moving back to Richmond, I've been exploring some things here. It's a lot of so with a great migration, a lot more of the homes here. Prices are starting to increase the further south you go. So just thinking about getting the most bang for my buck and where I want to be right now. So that's kind of where I am. It's like, where do I want to be long term?
Well, it sounds like you have it sort of figured out. And when you said, Richmond, I'm like, they are catching up with DMV. Those
Very fast.
prices. And you're definitely right. People have started to go south, down to Richmond. There's seems like a tremendous amount of opportunity there. Sounds like location, cost are important to you. So today we're going to be talking about mindfulness and yoga and things like that. But like, does that play a role? Like to have a space where you can actually kind of do your work, or to practice what you teach.
100%. It factors into it. Like I currently live in an apartment. I'm currently renting. I live in an apartment building, and I would not have chose here if they did not have a specific yoga studio. So it's definitely 100% a part of what is needed for me. It's not a want, it's a need. It's a space
Okay,
to practice. Yes, a space to move my body freely in the comfort of my home. Yeah.
awesome. So we're gonna get into that. Before we do so, I'm Rach, I'm still working on the art of an introduction.
Yeah.
The introductions, though, come better from you. So tell us who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into this conversation.
Love it. So, I'm Rachel Baylor. I am the founder of Evolving Lives Body and Mind, which is a wellness based business focused on mind, body, soul, uniting this, what I have a background in, and which is a master's in clinical mental health counseling, uniting that with yoga. So, that's what I've been working on the last 3 years. With that, with that master's, I'm also a resident in counseling. I'm working on licensure in the state of Virginia for my LPC. So I'm currently offering virtual therapy right now. I am from Richmond. I just so happen to be in the DMV area for about 10 years. I moved up there shortly after undergrad to attend grad school in the DMV area at the Chicago School. And then after being there for grad school, I just fell in love with it and stayed there for a little while. Hampton though was my first school. Love Hampton, where I met Dr. Norton, who I currently work for. Amazing human being. You talk about, the universe and divine timing, and I think that, he and I connected for a purpose, and it's led to me to meeting you, which has been a beautiful thing. But that's, I guess, it's a little bit about me. I could go on and on, for days. I started. Let me say this. I started practicing yoga back in 2015. And the reason I started practicing was because I was in grad school. I was overwhelmed with the amount of stress that I was going through, struggling with my own mental health things of like how to draw healthy boundaries, how to enforce those boundaries. But then ultimately, I was in a car accident. And I remember going through physical therapy and leaving on the last day, like doing the exit interview, and they scale, how high is your back pain or whatever, and they go throughout, and I still had some pain, and they were like, "But you're cleared to go." And I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm 26 years old. You're telling me I'm going to live with back pain for the rest of my life? This feels overwhelming. This feels daunting." And the recommendation was yoga. And so I started practicing there and went forward with just finding YouTube people to find, because I felt very alienated walking to yoga studio spaces. And then finally, I met someone, a woman of color, looked like me, and encouraged me to go further with the training. And I did that. That kind of led me to wanting to do my own thing. So I guess it's a little bit about me.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really enjoy these conversations because I get to listen, and
Hmm.
you'll notice that smoke will start coming out of my ears because I'm always sitting here writing notes and taking
Yeah.
notes, and I get so many gems and nuggets from this. But there are so many benefits to yoga. I looked them up, and I mean, there's a range from the top 5 to the top 80, top 100 reasons.
Yeah.
So you said one that's profound that to me, when I was looking it up, it always says that it's good for like pain, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Ugh. But like the poses that you get into, and it's kind of like it is strenuous, right? Like you have to use your body to get
Mhm.
into these poses and things like that. So help me understand how that's beneficial for pain.
Yeah, I love that. So essentially, let's just say a targeted area like lower back pain. I think a lot of people struggle with lower back pain. When we're experiencing physical pain and sensation in our body, it could be for a myriad of reasons, right? But typically, if you're not having an injury, lower back pain probably comes from a lack of core engagement, right? There's muscles that wrap around our entire body and connect connective tissue to one another. And so when you may be holding, let's say, a chair pose, right, and engaging your core, you're also reducing back pain. In that moment, you might feel a little pressure. You might feel challenged to hold that posture, you mentally, physically, right? But at the end, you feel this relief because by strengthening, you're releasing pain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. And so that's what it was for me. I had a lot of lower back pain, a lot of sciatica. And so it was certain postures that were targeted to certain muscles. And by engaging them, you're literally supporting yourself, right? We don't think about like our glutes, for example. When we walk, we're using our glutes, not
Glute.
intentionally. Glutes,
I've never met one. So what's a glute?
a butt muscle, your gluteus maximus, your booty.
There we go.
So you're not using your
What
butt
is
muscles when you.
uh,
Yeah, and when we're and let's think about it. Like in 24 hours out of day, let's say if we're getting a balanced amount of sleep, that's 8 hours. If we're working for eight, it's another eight. And you're probably sitting for a majority of those 8 hours if you're working in a primary setting of like being at the computer, right? When you're sitting, you're not using those muscles. They're completely in a relaxed state. So then stand up. They're automatically being used, right?
understood. Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh. And so if you're not strengthening that muscle and your booty muscles are attached to your lower back muscles, which are attached to your core muscles, or attached to your hip muscles, you know what I mean? It just your pressure pain gets held in those. I know it's like it's mind blowing, but you have to remember that we're connected head to toe. And so this intentional movement pays off, and it does release that pain. It does release tension.
Got it.
And
Before I move to the next point, how how did you recover from your your back pain? Like um how long did it kind of take you to start to see or feel some relief?
Yeah.
Um, and then do you still have those back pains
Hmm.
now?
Love that question. Thank you so much for asking that. So I was started practicing twice a week. I ramped it up to about 3 times a week, and within a month, like I started two times a week for 2 weeks. I started to see the progress. I started to see the effects, and I would have like maybe one day in that 4 day in between where I was like, oh, I'm having some back pain, you know. Um, and then when I ramped it up to 3 times a week, I didn't experience it because it was like every other day. So my body literally had no time to relax in a way, if that makes sense, to dump weight into a place that it didn't need to be because my muscles were being used and activated in a way that alleviated that pain. So I saw back pain relief within the first month after leaving physical therapy. Now, I did see flare ups whenever I stopped practicing, or if I was, let's say, sleeping on one side of the bed and noticing, like, I don't know about you, like in my early 20s, I had a bed that I had had for a while. Okay, I had a mattress that I had had for a while, and one side of the mattress was starting to dump, and dump weight and that pressure. And we like that type of investment pays off in the end. We talk about what we consume, what we do, and how that plays into our well-being overall. The choices that we make, and so I had to make a choice to get rid of that mattress too, because I was like, I am laying in this bed, and every day I'm waking up with more pain. It's not me. I'm working out. It's the bed. Investing in a good chair that you're sitting in, right? Or a standing desk. The little things that we do that make a difference. So I noticed pain relief in a month, and then I noticed flare ups come every once in a while. But what I've noticed more importantly than anything is that the consistency and just the mindfulness that I gained from yoga allowed me to make minor corrections when I felt a flare up coming on, right? And that could be something as simple as I'm sitting here at my desk, right, noticing that I have this arch in my back, right? I'm starting to feel pain. Just that tilt of the pelvis, right? It's a small adjustment, but now I'm no longer dumping weight, and my core is engaged, which now strengthens my spine.
Love it, love it. So
Hmm.
I have so
So it's like
much.
you don't have to do an hour of yoga. You could just make a little adjustment and
Yeah.
feel all of the rewards. Yeah.
And you're working with my team on that. You're teaching our team, and so shout out definitely to Dr. Norton for connecting us. And so I've known him for a while, and so we were talking about like mindfulness and such, right? And
Hmm.
and then I'm like, well, I wonder what I could do for my team because over the past 20 months or so or more, we've been largely sheltered in place, right? And so
Hmm.
so there has been studies and definitely some mental health issues. We're sitting at our desk more than we have normally done. We're not like getting up and walking out of the house, getting in the car and going and grabbing lunch and stuff. You just back and forth to the refrigerator. So I say all that to say, Rachel, we implemented this with our team. And so we've been doing virtual yoga with you. And I think they all look forward to doing it. And some of the things that you just mentioned when we were talking about your back pain, you have been pouring into our team on, like in regards to just doing like the chair yoga and just taking some time, like a half hour to an hour during the day to actually stretch and to
Hmm.
have better posture and things like that. So can you speak to that? Like, because I'm thinking when I think yoga, I'm thinking about getting up and going into a studio,
Hmm.
right? I never really thought about the benefits of using something like chair yoga. There's a ton of professionals that are listening to this, folks that, homeowners and things like that. But like, what are some of the benefits of doing what, me and, Fortis Mortgage, our team has implemented with you?
It's funny that you asked me that question, Shawn, because today I asked them what have they gained from this experience thus far as we're in a new year, meeting for the first time in the new year. And literally one of your team members said, I noticed that I've gotten taller.
Taller?
Yes, it's a real thing. Let's
Okay.
think about it, right? We're sitting over hunched most of the day, right? Our vertebrae start to get closer and closer, right?
Yes.
And so just by practicing chair yoga, sitting up tall, lengthening your spine, right, growing tall from here, right, as opposed to hunching, can increase the distance in between each vertebrae, which then increases your height.
Oh, so, oh, wow. I
Wow. And that's just one, right? So What have I noticed though? I've noticed I've noticed better alignment from a lot of your team members. Another team member actually shared with me today they felt calmer. They loved the breathing exercises that allowed them to be more present. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Like I saw this like face of shock, like when I said that. But I, in the first year of me going through teacher training, I grew an inch or half an inch, somewhere between a half an inch and an inch, and it was just like mind blowing for me too. How a consistent practice can make big changes and big impact over time.
Oh wow, love it, love it, love it. So listen, we're gonna get back to the mindfulness now,
Yes. So
right?
mindfulness.
Let's talk
Yes.
about mindfulness.
So I didn't. Let me say this. Myself in my own personal practice, I've noticed myself have more intention into what I'm doing, more awareness of how I'm moving, why I'm making certain choices that I'm making, right? Decision making. Mindfulness, right, isn't just, or even meditation isn't just like, right, sitting and like trying to clear your mind. Mindfulness can be literally allowing the thoughts that come to you to just observe them without judgment. And so that is what alleviates the mental anguish, the anxiety, the depression, the fear, right? It's when we allow ourselves to observe rather than to judge.
Give me an example of that, something like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, an observation, I noticed that there's a painting in your background. That's an observation, right? A
Yes.
judgment would be I see a painting and it's beautiful, right? Me seeing a painting and saying it's beautiful might leave me with a feeling of awe, right? If I was to say, oh, I see a painting and it's ugly, maybe it triggers something in me, right? Fear, frustration, whatever, right? And then that fear, that feeling, what guides our behaviors. So when we're mindful and we're able to observe, right, we're able to allow ourselves to feel our own natural emotions as opposed to them being shifted by a judgment that then ultimately impacts our behaviors. I hope I'm explaining this well.
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm probably going in a whole nother direction, but I started to think about once, someone, I was having a very difficult time with a client, and I contacted a resource, a mentor of mine, and I just dumped on him, and I made a mistake, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I had poor judgment when dealing with this particular situation, this particular client. So he simply said, listen, can you forgive yourself? Can you
Mm-hmm.
stop judging yourself and move on? He's like, because if you don't stop judging yourself and you don't forgive yourself, this situation is going to continue to linger and it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to get any better. So since then, and this was maybe about 6 years ago, about 2015 or so. I'll never forget it. And I started to kind of practice that. I don't know if that's correlating to what you're saying, but I
Mm-hmm.
started to think differently about um, my emotions and the way,
Mm-hmm.
the way that I dealt with things. And when I did make a mistake, I wouldn't, because I'm very hard on myself. I'm my
Mm-hmm.
worst critic. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot
A
of us,
lot of us are.
yeah,
Yeah.
are. But once I removed myself from the situation, things started to get a lot better for
Mm-hmm.
me when I started to take that judgment away, and specifically judging myself.
Yeah, a 100% on point, right? Like that is a part of being mindful, just noticing yourself,
Got it.
right? Noticing where you are,
Hmm.
right? That in itself is being mindful.
What tools do you recommend that we use for that?
Yeah. So I like to use the five senses, to be honest with you. The five senses, like literally, what do you see? Bringing you back into the room that you're in. What do you see? What can you physically hear in this moment? Like for me, I'm sitting at home. I have some laundry in the dryer. I hear that, but I also hear your voice, right? What can you feel? Well, I feel my clothes sitting on my body. I feel the chair legs underneath my feet. I feel the ground underneath my shoes. What do you smell? What do you taste? And then using the sound of your breathing after using your senses to keep you grounded. So literally, I can hear that.
Yeah.
And that brings me right into the here and now. From there, I can shift and be more present, more mindful.
And so I could do that without an app. I just focus on that throughout the day. Like,
Just your five senses. When you start to feel chaos, or I have a million things. Okay, no, let's come back. I'm here right now, right? And then once you're done with that, you can say, okay, what's the first thing I need to do? Because you realize that life is lived in the moment.
got it, got it, got it. All right, so let's get back. We're all over the place, but thank you for staying with me. This is
Hmm.
a great conversation. As you can see, I'm really excited, like a kid. Like,
Yeah.
yoga actually is, for me, is a little intimidating.
Mm.
I've done some things, folks. I've shared my health journey recently with acupuncture and diet.
Mm-hmm.
And we do the chair yoga with you. What do we do that monthly, once a month?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And but I like to say that I want to get into a regimen of like doing it all the time. But it's just, I don't know, it's really daunting to me. Do you hear that from others?
I do, and I experienced that myself, which is why I started out on YouTube. I started on YouTube because I could do it from the comfort of my home. I didn't have to worry about the perceptions or the perceived perceptions of others, right? Um, I also think that when you're trying something new, it's natural to have those feelings, right? I like to use a metaphor when I'm explaining starting yoga or even starting therapy for the first time is that tell me a time or tell me your favorite dish that you like to cook. Tell me about the first time you made it, though,
Mm-hmm.
compared to the last time you made it.
Well, I'm a chef though. Like, I'm an amazing cook. I'm just kidding, but
So every time you go into there, it just comes out perfect the first
no,
time.
nah, no, it doesn't.
Right. And so we're not even aiming for perfection. We're just aiming for progress.
That's right. That's right. I'm not flexible.
And that's
And so
okay. Yoga's, are you flexible in
that's
your mind?
see, you have a response for everything. You have an answer for everything. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the fact that when I played basketball in college, and I would just not do the stretching
Hmm.
exercises. I
Yeah.
probably should have, but I couldn't touch my toes or anything like that. And so, as I've gotten older, I'm thinking back, like, how was I able to perform this way? And it feels really good when you stretch, because it takes a
Hmm.
lot of energy,
Hmm.
negative energy away. But that's the piece about the yoga part that feels daunting to me, because I, I guess I'm looking at and comparing myself maybe to others, and I'm seeing their results without taking into consideration, like you mentioned, starting number one, and then the time that they've put in to get to that point.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that the stretching piece is what really is daunting to me.
Yeah, I get that. I think also when you're younger too, we overlook like the longevity of our health and like what the little minutia or the little minute things that we can do that aid in the longevity of our health or even mobility. So I think that's what's lost first as we age is our mobility or like our ability to do little things like just bend over and pick something up, right? And so I can understand like it feeling daunting getting into it, especially when you haven't done it in a while. But I think a big part of that is acceptance, accepting where you are,
Mm.
like, and knowing that it's okay to be where you are. It's okay to not be flexible, right? As long as you're flexible of the mind, as long as you're willing to try.
So I got to forgive myself, stop
Mhm.
judging myself, practice
Mhm.
what I preach, right?
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
so
sometimes it's easier said than done, but that's about being a human, right? Like we fall, but we get back up.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, because I know you have to run too as well. But look, one last question around this. We
Yes.
started off this conversation about home ownership.
Mhm.
You pretty much said that there has to be a space in your house where you can go and practice yoga and mindfulness,
Yes.
right? Tell us, all of us that are listening at home, like, where could we go and get to this place that you're looking for? Like, so we already own a home, or we're looking
Mhm.
to purchase a home. Like, what are you looking for? Like, what is that place for you in your new home?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you because I practice in my home right now.
Yeah.
I've carved out a space in my bedroom that makes it easy. So as soon as I get up out of bed, I go right to that corner to breathe, to meditate, write down a few things I'm grateful for, and get the day started. So I think it's about being intentional. Like you can formulate a space to move anywhere in your home, but I think it's important that it's free of maybe clutter, maybe free of what's on your to-do list or like what's ahead of you, right, for the day. Something that gives you a sense of peace. Maybe that's a color or a sound. Maybe it's certain music that you set up that helps create that environment. But I think having it free of clutter, maybe even a mirror, right? If judgment is something that's coming up for you, removing that and allowing you to just be okay with your body as it is as you move, right? So I think that space looks different from person to person, but more than anything, it's enough space to move your arms out in the opposite directions and your body in opposite directions. Do you have enough space to do that, to move freely, to not feel constricted?
Got a quiet place, free of clutter. Um, I like the mirror thing. There's a book called The Inner Game of Tennis, and they would
Mm.
teach tennis players and athletes to practice in the mirror
Mhm.
as well. And one thing going back to earlier in our conversation, and I really, really, really love that you simplified it for us. Uh, the senses: seeing, hearing, feel, smell, taste.
Mhm.
Ask yourself those things while you're
Mhm.
going through it, and that'll help you be present. So, wow, 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 Rachel. Um, listen, couple things.
Yes.
How can we contact? Well, first of all, how can we help you? Number one, like, is there anything that you need? How can we help you in your business? And then after you answer those questions, tell us how we can connect with you as well.
Okay. What do I need in terms of business? I'm always looking to take on more clientele. I'm looking for more private individuals and more private groups to offer workplace wellness yoga, to offer just private yoga. So if you are looking to get into your practice and don't want to go into a studio, I do offer virtual sessions. If you're local to the area, I offer in-home sessions. Um, let's see. What was the second question?
Oh, just anything that like you maybe need for your business, or anything that you want, like if you want to put it out there in the universe.
Ah, yes. Well, I
I know-
know the universe has to come an actual yoga studio for me in the future. Right now, you can find me online at my website, Evolving Lives, Body and Mind. But I know that I will be manifesting that. That will be coming into fruition as a yoga studio space where I'm actually going to combine yoga and therapy, my two areas of expertise.
all right,
So
and
yeah,
tell us again how we can connect with you. How can we find you? You gave us the
yeah,
website. I'll be
yes.
around for you, myself and my team. So
Okay.
anyone that's looking to add the virtual yoga to their companies, Rachel's done some amazing work with us. We've been with you almost a year now.
Yeah, it's I'm so grateful for you all. I really am, and it's been an amazing journey thus far. It really has. Yep, that's the websites where you can find me, Evolving Lives, Body and Mind. You can also reach out to me via email, um, Evolving Lives, Body and Mind at gmail.com. I'm on social media. You can follow me, Evolving Lives, Body, Mind, or Yogi Rachel B. Yeah, that I think that's all my contact information. I'm on LinkedIn as well if you want to find me there. I'm sure this will be posted after. So yeah.
All right. So listen, one person, one question. Rachel, you get one
Mhm.
person, one question. Who would it be and what would you ask?
It would be Michelle Obama.
All right.
I would ask her, what did you implement in order to be able to balance your roles while your husband was in office? As a mom, as a wife, as a first lady, as an individual.
Interesting. What do you think she would say?
Who? That I didn't know that was a part of the questions.
You don't have to answer that.
You
That
know
one.
what? I think she would say she implemented a lot of time management and prioritizing herself first before everyone else. And the reason I say this is I've read about her a bit to understand like a lot of her philosophy,
Yes.
and even her book Becoming.
That's a
But I don't know. I'm not her, so yeah,
Yeah, that's why you would ask that question, right? Because
exactly.
she's super smart lady, and very strong willed too, and to kind of I won't call it a backseat, but sort of, right? Like,
Mhm.
to support President Obama, and also raising a family
Mhm.
during that all. That's a great question. We've had Michelle Obama. Someone mentioned that, or state that they would ask her a question, but not that way. That's a great question.
Okay, thank you. And I
Yeah,
appreciate this time and
yeah,
that like pop up. Yeah.
yeah. And so, like I always say, it just would be a shame for me to have these relationships like you, Rachel, and not share them with the network, and then vice versa, not share you with our network. So, anyone, if there's anything that I can do to help you, don't hesitate to reach out. We really enjoy these conversations. Keep tuning in with us on Thursdays at 2 o'clock. Watch the replays, share them, tell friends about it. We love that. And then, just stay as safe and as healthy as possible out here. And we'll see everybody next week. Rachel, thank you again for your time. And now we'll be seeing you next month.
Of course. Sounds good. Thank you again for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Be good.
All right. Bye bye.